I have so much to talk to you about today. We are well into the fourth quarter of 2023. I live, eat, breathe, and sleep real estate, and you probably don't. So I decided, even if I'm repeating some information, it's A-okay. Because maybe you're listening with a different ear this time, because maybe your needs have changed. So stick around, because we're going to talk about things like inventory, interest rates, Wall Street buying properties, not really as true as you might think it is, and foreclosures. So I thank you in advance for the next few minutes you'll spend with me. And I would love it if you enjoyed this video to forward it to a friend. If you're watching me on YouTube, please like it, save it, forward it, and subscribe to my channel. All right, the first myth that I'm going to debunk here is that the number of foreclosures is rising. That's actually not a myth. It is true. Foreclosures are rising. And you've probably been hearing that or seeing that in the news. And I have encountered buyers who have said to me as we were looking at properties, well, I'm going to wait because I know the market's going to come down. Prices are going to get better. It's going to crash just like it was in 2008 because foreclosures are going up. I heard that on the news. That's true. Foreclosures are going up. But let's look at some context. Foreclosures are going up from where they were during the pandemic. So between 20 and 22, there was a moratorium on foreclosures. So foreclosures were next to zero. So yes, in 2022 and 2023, foreclosures have been on the rise, but they are nowhere near where they were at 2008 when they were at their peak. So yes, foreclosures and bankruptcies are rising, but not at the pace or the rate that is going to cause any large disruption in property values. Another headline you might be seeing, and I know people are seeing it because I had somebody in my car. We were driving to a showing, and she was talking about how corporations are buying up all the houses and there's not going to be any left for the regular people to purchase at reasonable prices. So I have some information here to share with you that will make it abundantly clear that that's not the case. Now, I will admit to the fact that there are definitely apartment buildings, apartment complexes coming up, being built. There's some in Scotch Plains, there's some in Warren, there's some in Basking Ridge. They're all around us. I'm not talking about those. I'm just talking about single family homes or condos that are being purchased by investors or are owned by investors. 25% of all residential properties are owned by some sort of an investor. 19.6% of that 25% are what we consider to be mom and pop owners. The investors that own properties, the vast majority of the owners of rental properties are regular people like you and me. Only 0.3% of that 25% are your institutional buyers. Then we have 0.7% and 2.7% of people who own between 10 and 1,000 properties. So that is a very big number here. Only 20% of 25% of homes in the United States are rental properties. So here's a little add-on there. The mom and pop owners. Many of them own two properties because they had so much equity and a great interest rate on their single family home or their primary residence that when they decided to move, they chose to keep the property that they owned. So now they own two properties. And that is part of what we're talking about when we're talking about the 19.6% of the 25% of people who own properties. More potential sellers are deciding to rent their property instead of buying another one. Now, an interesting add-on to that is 32% of people who own more than one property have plans in the next 2 years to sell one of those properties. That is going to help our inventory problem. We're going to talk about interest rates. So interest rates in the last couple of weeks, they hit 8%. They're down a little bit now. They're in the 7s, but they're pretty high. There are lots of ways to overcome a high interest rate. if you're a buyer. We can talk about that. I'm not going to go into a video on that. I always tell people, and if you know me, you know I say this, I sell houses, not loans. I make marriages between lenders and buyers because we have several that we can rely on for accurate information. One of my favorite lenders sent me this graph. This is the 2024 forecast for the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Fannie Mae expects the 30-year fixed mortgage rate will average 6.7% in Q4 of 2024, so 1 year from now. The Mortgage Bankers Association predicts 6.1, and Goldman Sachs expects the 30-year fixed mortgage rate to average 6.8. So it does look like we will be below 7% by the end or by the fourth quarter of 2024. Between now and then, we're looking at rates somewhere between 6.3 and 7.3%. So interest rates are going to come down. Now, I have been telling people, and it is the truth, that in our immediate area where we are selling, interest rates have not had that big of an impact on buyers. Our buyer demand is steadily increasing. Buyer demand that we're seeing is very strong. We are looking at inventory levels at less than a month in many of our primary markets. There's just not enough inventory. So given that fact, that buyer demand is high, plus we live in a pretty affluent area, many of our buyers have more than 20% to put down in their down payment. If you are a buyer looking to buy and you're concerned about the rates and you don't have a great down payment, then it's even more important for you to speak to a lender sooner rather than later, because there are lots of programs out there that can help you meet your goal of home ownership. Okay, so last thing that I want to talk about is where are we going with house prices, house values, property values. Oh, so many ways to say that. So there's no way that we are going to be able to sustain the rapid appreciation that we've been experiencing in the last 2 to 3 years. I did a study of closed properties from, I think I started in January 2020, and I downloaded all of the information between January 2020 and I think I did this in mid-July. I found 12 properties that sold twice. 12 properties that sold twice. That means somebody bought something in 2020, 2021, and in 2022, 2023, they decided to sell it. Best comp is a same house. So yes, maybe they made some updates or improvements in that time, but if we kind of put all that aside and just speak generally, the average appreciation of those 12 properties was near 30%. That's pretty incredible. There's no way that we can sustain that year after year, month after month. So I do know that we are going to be backing down on that appreciation, but prices are not falling. They're not going to reverse. They're just going to slow. Appreciation is going to slow. 2024 is not going to be much different than 2023, but then as interest rates loosen up a little bit, even though I just said that interest rates really aren't impacting us that much, this data that I'm talking about here is national. So the national predictions for property values are 2.17. That's 2024. It's going to be a little bit of a rough year. But in 2025, we go up to 3.2 and then 3.8 and then 4.2. So we are definitely going to continue to see an increase in appreciation. So what does that mean for you as a buyer? Not a whole lot. Your mortgage rates might come down. Values might still go up. You still have to make a decision based on your needs as to when the time is right for you to buy. If you were thinking about selling your house, you can rest assured that whether you do it now or tomorrow or next year or even in 2026, you are still going to see appreciation from where we are today. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Things are going really great here at the team. Berkshire Hathaway New Jersey Properties was merged with Berkshire Hathaway Fox and Roach. That was a pretty big change for us. That's why I didn't get this video out on time, because I've been busy learning all the new tools. I can say that I am super excited to be part of Fox and Roach. I heard something kind of cool about Fox and Roach. So the guy who started Fox and Roach was Fred Fox Sr. It was 1886 when he first hung out his real estate brokerage shingle in Center City. That's a long time ago. And Basically, what Fox and Roach is saying is, ever since that day in 1886, until we joined Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, regardless of the names they added and the milestones they passed, they'd always been a family company. I'm thrilled that they chose Berkshire Hathaway when they decided to no longer be a family company. And I know that they did that for the same reason I decided to come to Berkshire Hathaway, and for the same reason that Warren Buffett decided to purchase Prudential and make it Berkshire Hathaway. Did you know that Berkshire Hathaway Home Services is the only Warren Buffett company that is allowed to carry the name? And that is because Warren Buffett's name is synonymous with strength and longevity and wealth. And these are the things that keep us moving forward and feel supported. And it's a really great place to call home.